and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Stacy and I am Stress Knits on Instagram. I dye stress knits yarn and I'm coming to you from Detroit, Michigan, where I live with my husband Doug, our daughter Eliza, and our pug Esther. Today is July 1st and I don't think I've recorded one of these since February or March. It has been a hectic and intense year. And yeah, I didn't have the time, I didn't have the energy, and I also just didn't have the knitting. I have not been knitting very much over the past few months, and my knitting mojo, sorry, somebody's working on their house, it was a weird sound, but my knitting fervor, if you will, is starting to come back, and I want to talk to you about that because I have two finished objects that I've finished in the past couple of months, and I have some projects on the needles and some projects percolating, and a lot of this is being driven by my desire for color. Now, this is kind of a departure for me. I really like neutrals and greens and pinks, and that's kind of where my palette tends to end. But I am feeling so excited about color, and maybe it's the weather, maybe it's the fact that we're in summer, maybe it's after the really hard year that I had, I'm just craving something that brings joy. And so it's very interesting because my wardrobe is very monochromatic. My knits have a very similar theme. Actually, you might be able to see this is like my stack. This is the outlier I knit a few years ago, but everything's in that like earthy color palette, which I really love. But I'm also falling in love, back in love with blues. I'm falling in love with brighter yellows instead of the mustard yellows. I'm falling in love with pops of red and hot pink. And instead of pushing it away like I usually do, I am embracing it. So that's what we're going to talk about today, and I'm very excited about it. So first, let's get the finished objects out of the way. I'm going to show this one first. This is my Wisp tank by Caitlin Hunter, and I'm not wearing it today because it doesn't fit super well. And this was weird for me because Caitlin Hunter patterns, I have knit the Alpine Bloom, which we'll talk about in a second, the Ingalls, and the Easy V. And these three sweaters, the circular yoke of Caitlin Hunter, I know if I knit a size 5 and I go up a needle size, it's going to fit me so well. And I've just embraced that. So I test knit the Wisp tank for Caitlin Hunter, and I think I just knit a size too big. Also, my body's changing in weird ways. I've been climbing and riding my bike more, and so my body's just kind of shifting, and so I went with my normal size for the Wisp tank, and it's a little bigger than I would want, so I don't know how this is going to fit into my wardrobe, but it's just a nice boxy tank top. Also, I think the bigger problem for me is the V is very wide and very deep, which there's just a lot of skin here when I don't know, I'm looking over here, you're over here. There's just a lot of skin here, and I don't know how I feel. I think maybe a layering piece, but I knit this out of my Surrey alpaca base, which I call Cloud because it feels like a cloud, and this is the mint colorway, just a nice minty green. Yeah, there's not much to say about it, but it's the Wisp tank by Caitlin Hunter. And honestly, I think I would go less positive ease on this one. I'm a huge fan of positive ease, but for this, I think knitting a size down would be a good call. But I do love the fabric. A Surrey tank top is so interesting. And it's very comfortable to wear next to my skin. I have no problem with that. I'm gonna take a sip of coffee. Okay. Next finished object. I actually just finished, was it yesterday? 2 days ago? 2 days ago. This is my Alpine Bloom t-shirt by Caitlin Hunter. I also tested this one, but I was a test knit fail kind of. So the larger sizes don't have to finish the whole thing. And I don't know if a size 5 is considered a larger size, but this is a fingering weight sweater. I knit mine in sport weight because my gauge is drastically different than Caitlin Hunter's. But here it is. So it's a cute little cropped t-shirt. I really love it. I don't have a knitted t-shirt that I wear. So I was very excited to test it, and I really love how it fits. I knit the size 5. Mine is a little bit smaller than a size 5. It's probably closer to a size 4, but if I were to knit a size 4, it'd be closer to a size 3. So that's why I go with a size 5 always. And I would always rather something be too big than too small. So I used Magpie fibers / Spincycle. I don't know if I have another skein. I do. You hear giggling. Doug and Eliza are playing with Legos downstairs. This is the dyed in the skein from Magpie Fibers. It is 100% superwash American wool, 300 yards, about 75 grams. So I would consider this a heavy fingering borderline sport weight. This is the Bougie Beaver colorway. And I love it. It's one of my favorite shades of pink. I love the brown earthy pinks. The contrast color is Ghost Ranch from Spincycle, dyed in the wool. Eliza's laugh is the cutest thing in the world. And I just love it. So the skeins that I had, I really loved, but regretted in different moments. I love this first flower. It's incredible. There's like this lavender situation up here, this mustard. I'm obsessed with it. And then it goes into a lot of blues, and then like this bright pink I'm not a huge fan of, and then it finishes off in this bright yellow and dark blue marl ply. And that's kind of the fun about Spincycle, because I just decided to give into it. I took out the very, very, very bright yellow bits because it would have come, where would it would have been like right in the middle, and I wanted to stick with the blue. But I love letting Spincycle do its thing because it really surprised me. I actually really love how this turned out. I was a little skeptical, but it really just works. And I love Ghost Ranch so much because there's so much variation within the skeins, and just this first flower is so beautiful. So that is my Alpine Bloom. It's a beautiful pattern. If I were to knit this again, I don't know if I would because I have a very, at least right now, my motivation to knit large yokes and color work is just not there. Because once you have like over 500 stitches across at the widest point and you're going across this chart, that's what really slowed me down on this project. So, oh well. But if I were to knit it again, there's a version that's like an oatmeal color with a yellow yoke. I think that'd be beautiful. And just doing 2 colors without the Spincycle. The Spincycle is very special. Also, I needed almost 2 full skeins of Spincycle for this yoke, and I wasn't super thrilled about that either. But I do think the finished object is worth it. I just was not expecting it because when we got the test call, it was only called to be 1 skein and the math was wrong, and that happens and it's not a big deal. And I was very lucky to have some more in my stash. But I really love when Spincycle is used and it's only one skein, because that makes it more accessible and just more, it's easier to just use a special skein of Spincycle. But that's what I've been knitting. I don't think I've been knitting anything else. I have a sweater in my car. That's kind of my work knitting / car knitting, which is my second coloring book raglan, and I'm going to finish it soon, but it is what it is. All right, let's talk about color. I think this whole episode is really going to be about colors and patterns that are inspiring me and that I want on my body. So I've been swatching, and I'm trying to give myself permission to play with color, play with fabrics, and really experiment with what I like and what is going to bring me joy. So I have like my little basket of goodness right now, and I have some swatches. I'm so excited to show you these. And of course, I'm in the middle of a row. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. Okay, let's untangle all of this. I do have one work in progress, but it's going to go into the color talk. So like I said, I'm craving color, and it's really interesting because I am pulling things that I would never knit together. I'm pulling colors I would never really knit with, but I have in my stash. So there are some projects that are really helping me lean into this. And one of them is a project that I love as a way to explore color. And that is my half and half triangles wrap by Purl Soho. I've talked about this ad nauseum, but if you're new, which if you are, hello, welcome. This is a weird episode for you, but I'm glad you're here. The half and half triangles wrap by Purl Soho is just this giant rectangle square shawl in fingering weight yarn called linen Quill. And the tag is here. It is 50% fine Highland wool, 35% alpaca, and 15% linen. Some people love it, some people hate it. I'm someone who really loves this yarn, and I've been using it in several projects. I love the color palette. If you go to the website, the palette that is available in this yarn is unmatched. It is stunning. And I have a ton of it because I love these shawls, and I love the yarn, and I love playing with the colors. So I had one on my needles, which I think I showed the last podcast or the one before. And this is where I was at. So this is going into hibernation, which I never do. That's not really a thing I do. I don't intentionally abandon a project and know that I'm going to come back to it. And I may or I may not. We'll see. But this is the color Raw Sienna from Purl Soho. It's this beautiful like golden brown color. But it was just not going with my summer of color that I'm trying to have. So instead, I love light blues. I love Cinderella blues. I love blues that feel icy, that lean towards the mint color. I love blue. And it's just not something that I knit with often because I used to only wear blue and gray. Those were the only two colors in my wardrobe from high school through most of college. And I don't know, I just kind of left that part of myself in there. I don't know. It was just, plus I wear a lot of jeans and I don't like blue on blue much, but I'm kind of coming back to it. So I had this color, I think it's called Bird's Egg Blue. one of those. It'll be in the show notes below in the description box. And so I had this and I was like, this is exactly my favorite shade of blue. I love it. So, and I put down the raw sienna, which is like in my normal color palette, and I caked up this bird, I think it's bird's egg blue, because robin's egg is a brighter teal color. Also, don't mind my nails. I didn't even think about it. And I cast on a new 50/50 triangles wrap. I think these are size 4 needles. I have it on a nice big cord. I think this is a 40. I think this is a 40-inch cord. I get questions about that a lot. I basically just grab a needle and a 4 or a 5 because I'm a tight knitter and I don't want this to be like steel. And I just kind of go for it and I don't think too much of it. I think this is number 6 for me. And it's garter stitch in short rows. I have a tutorial if you are confused by the pattern, and I hope that is helpful to you. But yeah, so I just cast this on, and my gut reaction, what I think I'm going to do, is knit it with golden green, which I really like. But I can't get this combo out of my head, which is baked earth and golden green. And now granted, this is very much my color palette. Like this is right in my wheelhouse, but I just love it so much. So I'm knitting up a little mini swatch of how it will look. So I just cast on 35 stitches and I'm doing like a mini 50/50, following the pattern. And so I'm seeing if I prefer this, and then I'm also going to do a mini 50/50 wrap with dandelion yellow. No, this isn't dandelion. This is mustard seed. Mustard seed and bird's egg blue. So we'll see where I land, but I'm just knitting away with the blue for right now. And I'm loving every stitch, but again, it's just, I'm letting myself have fun, not putting myself on deadlines, and I just have these little, I just wound off a couple grams of each of these colorways so that I could play with them and see what I like together and what I want to spend time with. And then I have some swatches. So I'll start with the boring swatch first because I have yarn to knit a snowy forest sweater. Midori Hirose, I believe, is the designer. Again, everything will be linked in the description box below. And it's just this beautiful, boxy, cozy sweater with big cable yoke. And I've loved it since it came out. And so many knitters that I love and feel inspired by have knit the sweater. So I bought yarn from the Lamb & Kid. And I bought the Todd, I can't remember if it's Todd Worsted or Todd DK. But this is the Grand Forest colorway. I love how I was talking about color and then I'm like showing stuff in my wheelhouse, but then I'm amping up, I promise. Yes, Grand Forest, and then Base Camp on Birdie, which is the Surrey alpaca. And so this is going to be my sweater. Big cables, lovely, but I swatched with some leftovers that I had. I still need to take the measurements. This is on a US 10, and then this is a US 10.5. I really like the US 10 gauge. Yeah, I really like the US 10 gauge. So I will do some math and figure out, I'm looking at the extra large size. Is that what it is? I don't know. It's like the 7.75 inch bust or something. We'll see, but this fabric is beautiful. So that's coming. A little less boring. I have fallen in love with lavender and red. I don't know what it is. I really love like a smoky lavender with a pop of a bright tomatoey red. And so I swatched with some. So again, this is Purl, Soho, Linen, Quill. And the base color, the main color, is lavender opal. And the contrast stripe is red poppy. And I don't know if this is going to turn into anything. I don't know if I like it enough to make it a garment. If I do, it'll be like a tank top or something along those lines. But I don't know if I like the way it looks on me. And if you agree, you don't have to tell me. But I just really like these colors together and think that they need to be together in some capacity. So we're working on that. And then I was having a day on Wednesday. We did some of the, we did the final evaluations for my daughter's autism diagnosis. And so it was just a rough day. And scrolling through Instagram in the parking lot while we were waiting, and I saw that Jacqueline, hi Jacqueline, Jackie and Caitlin of Caddy Jacks are hosting a weekender knit along, but it's different. So the weekender is a pattern by Andrea Mowry, and it's just a basic sweater, and it's beautiful. But I've knit 2 of them, and neither were successful in how I wanted them to work. The first one, I just think I didn't like myself enough. Like, if we're being perfectly honest, it was pretty close postpartum, and I just don't think I enjoyed seeing myself in knitwear at that time. The second, I messed up in the center. There's a faux seam detail, and it went like this. So I just ripped it out and never touched it again. So the weekender has been on my list of things to knit, and Caddy Jacks is doing a knit along called the 3-day weekender knit along. And it's not to be knit in 3 days, but it's going from 3-day weekend to 3-day weekend. So 4th of July weekend, which is this weekend, and Labor Day weekend, right before school starts. And so I thought it would be the perfect time for me to knit the sweater. And they're knitting it in Big Birdie from the Lamb and Kid. And I already had 2 skeins of it, so I ordered the rest of them. There's a little duck and some ducklings. Okay. Just like a mallard duck hanging out in my neighbor's yard. Anyway, so I bought these 2 skeins this winter to make hats for Eliza and I. So this was going to be my hat. This is Grandma's Button on Big Birdie, and Big Birdie is a Surrey alpaca silk. I think it's 71 Surrey baby alpaca and 29% silk, and it's thick. I think it's technically an Aran weight, but I guess it has qualities where you can knit it down or knit it up. So I had Grandma's Button, and then for Eliza, I was going to knit her a hat and pout. But I just never got around to it. So when they announced this knit along, and I was having kind of I was having just a rough day, and I wanted to, I just wanted to think about the sweater instead of what was happening. So I decided I was finally going to put into action my idea for a sweater, where this isn't like mind-blowing or anything, but I love the idea of a cream sweater with pops of neon on the neckline, the hem, and the cuffs. So I purchased a sweater's quantity of Big Birdie oats to go along with this, and that should be here next week. It's in the mail. And oats is just a beautiful, warm, white cream color. It's very beautiful. And so I am going to be adding, pout on the neckline and the hem, and grandma's button on my cuffs. And I was going back and forth because I do think that grandma's button looks better here, I think. But I want this next to my face, and I don't care if it looks bad. I'm just really excited about it. So I grabbed some leftovers of linen quill to make sure that my idea would work with how I wanted to do the cast-ons and the bind-offs in the opposite colors, because the Weekender is a tubular cast-on and bind-off, and I want to do that. So I made this little rib swatch that's probably going to end up being like a coaster for me. And I used bright flamingo, pale mushroom, and butterscotch. If you're curious, I like these three together a lot. And so what I did was, for the cast on, I just did the setup rows for the tubular cast on, and then once everything was good, I knit one row past it, and it was perfect. And then for the bind off, I knit one row in the butterscotch, and then I started the setup for the Kitchener bind off, which creates the tubular bind off. And I love it. I'm very, very happy with it. And so that is what is going on my needles next, I believe. And with wanting to knit this Weekender, it's going to be oversized and fluffy and beautiful and fun. And then I have my Snowy Forest. I also really want to knit a Magnolia bloom sweater. And I just love the idea of having these three sweaters kind of in a series together, like a collection, where they're just these nice oversized fluffy sweaters that make you just want to curl up and have those for my winter wardrobe. So I'm trying to figure out what colors I want to knit my Magnolia bloom in. I'm not sure yet. But we will see. And also, as I'm sitting here, I have all of this beautiful, colorful yarn in front of me, and I really think it's going to be mustard seed with robin's egg blue, so that I can do this together. I think. I'm pretty sure. I don't know. I really love this bright yellow right now. Yeah, so there is that. And then I do want to talk about something very exciting coming up next month, which is the Flock Fiber Festival in Seattle, Washington. I'm going as a person, as a patron, with my mom, and I'm very excited about it. My mom and I have wanted to take a trip together for a little bit, and this opportunity came up, and she wanted to go with me because I was going to go by myself. There are so many of you on the West Coast that I want to see, and so many of my online knitting friends on the West Coast that I have never met in person. And I've always wanted to go to Seattle. I've always wanted to go out west. I was born and raised in Michigan, and I went to school in West Virginia, and I've been up and down the eastern side of the states, but I've never been west of Wisconsin. So I'm very excited to start branching out, and we will be there Saturday, probably in the morning, and be there for just a couple of hours. I don't anticipate being there all day. I would still love to do things with my mom and travel around the city, but I'm so excited to go to this festival and touch yarn in person and see any of you that are coming. So if you are coming, please, 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 please let me know. I can't wait. I'm so thrilled. We've been planning this trip for the past few months. Our hotels are booked, our flights are booked, everything is set in stone, and I'm gonna be gone for like a week, which is, it's wild. I'm so excited. So we're doing Seattle for a couple of days, and then we're driving, we're renting a car and driving to Olympic National Park, which is something I'm so excited for. I love national parks, and I really want to go to all of the ones in the contiguous 48 states. I would love to go to ones in Alaska and Hawaii, but I'm also trying to be realistic about money and time. But this is starting my journey in the national parks, and I cannot wait to hike around the Hoh rainforest and see the Pacific Ocean. I've never seen an ocean before. So I'm thrilled. And I've also never seen Rocky Mountains, like not the Rocky Mountain range, but like mountains that are pointy and like giant because I went to school in Appalachia and I grew up going to Appalachia, and those hills are old, and there are some big ones out there, but nothing like there is out west. So I'm so excited. I'm really nervous I'm gonna fall in love with it and want to move out there. But I cannot wait to go to Seattle in the state of Washington. So that is coming up, and I don't know if I will vlog or podcast before then. So this might be the last one before Seattle, but I am uploading weekly vlogs over on my Patreon. I'm actually uploading the one from last week today. And that's been really fun. So you'll see my Seattle adventure there if you're interested. And all of my patrons are getting these vlogs for the summer because I have been, I've been having a hard year and you've been there for me. So if you are interested in being a patron, there will be information below. You can follow the link. And if you have been a patron in the past or you are a patron now, I cannot thank you enough. And I hope you're enjoying the vlogs because I'm having a lot of fun making them, and it's also making me really appreciate this time I have off for the summer because I'm not working. I'm only working 1 day a week in the summer because childcare is expensive. And it's even more expensive when you have a kid with special needs, which is just stupid. But yeah, so I'm very thankful for that. And so there's rock climbing and gardening and knitting and my friends and my husband and my family and just our day-to-day life. I've also been doing a 100 mile bike challenge for myself in the month of June, and I biked 130 miles. So I'm very excited. I'm starting July's today, and I'm going to try 100 miles again. So we'll see how that goes, and what else is going on. So we talked about Seattle. Stress knits. Let's talk about stress knits real quick. So I'm the Alpine Stress Knits yarns. If you're unfamiliar, it's just an indie dyed yarn. It's nothing special, but I just released a Taylor Swift collection, and I want to thank everybody so much for making that a successful collection. There is some purple, I don't want to bring it over, I'm not going to, but there's some purple mohair and alpaca silk if you are interested. And there's also, if you are seeing this before Monday night, there's a pre-order for the most popular colorway in that update, which I have right here. Oops, sorry. And this is called Afterglow. And it is my favorite thing that I've ever dyed. It's very, when I was writing down my thought of this colorway, I immediately was like, I want it to be similar to Sweet Disposition, but I want it to feel like it's off the Lover album of Taylor Swift. instead of like an indie temper trap, you know? But it's just, there are so many little speckles, and there are skeins that lean more pink and more purple and have more of the mints, and that have more speckles and that are more golden. And it's just a very individualized colorway because I dye this colorway skein by skein. I dye one skein in a pot at a time because I want the control over it. And so it's very special, and each one of these is thoughtfully poured and speckled and swished around. So I really am so happy you love it. The screen's blowing it out a little bit. There are better pictures on my Instagram if you are curious, but there is a pre-order for my favorite base, which is my 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon base. It's my favorite for sweaters and shawls and socks. It is the perfect base for everything. It's a high twist, which I know not everyone loves, but I really love it. And it's very important for me as a person who owns the shop to only produce what I like, just in case nobody likes it. And then that way I can just knit with it if nobody buys it. So this, and then my DK and my worsted bases, which are both 100% superwash merino. I'm very excited. I need to knit I need to dye myself a sweater's quantity of this because I think I'm going to redo my cozy classic raglan that I lost in our flood 2 years ago. And I'm going to do it in these colors. And I think I'll pair it with a Surrey alpaca. And I love it so much. And so if you don't know, Afterglow is a song off the Lover album by Taylor Swift. It is in my top 5 songs. It's really beautiful, and it's literally just a song about being in love and having anxiety about it, and feeling like you're gonna mess it up. And so I love it. I love the song, and the color is exactly how I wanted it to come out. It's perfect. Also, I saw Taylor Swift and it lived up to the hype. It was so good. Anyway, yeah, so if you want, I will see you over on Patreon for my weekly vlogs. If you're waiting for this week's vlog, it'll be up probably by the end of tonight, Saturday night. And then I'm also working on the new vlog for next week, which should be up by Wednesday. So again, just thank you for being here. Thank you for your patience while I figure this life out. And I cannot wait to see some of you in Seattle in a month. I'm so excited. Okay, I will see you hopefully soon. And yeah, I think that's it. Bye.